Walking on eggshells is the broken mental model here. Another mids watch. This one's a pretty simple, straightforward one. It's going to be good because you may or may not have had the pleasure of hearing about the mental model walking on eggshells. And this one's going to go aura congruence testing, for example. And this is a great example as to why both of those are bad mental models and what you can do about them. This guy here, ornery crank. And you know the funny thing? So I'll put it this way. So I know you've seen from a lot of these ones, I'll have guys deleted his account. He asked one question. The guys who are completely bad at it, very unattractive, they one and done. They're out. It's the guys that make mistakes but have like that glimmer of self-awareness where you can tell, like, I know there's a problem here. I know there's an outcome that I want. The last thing you want to do is argue that point. Again, this is why we have basic tools like fogging. Oh yeah? Acknowledge that she said something, but don't give it any validation whatsoever. Yeah. Okay. So she stomps off, runs off to the thing. When she comes back, they had a fight. He tried to defuse the situation by inviting her to cuddle, watch the show, but she rejected his overtures because she didn't feel good anymore. Again, that's the other... So when I say walking on eggshells, that's it. He's afraid of his wife's emotions and he's trying to placate her. Not a good thing. So the fight began in earnest after that when she tried to accuse him of jumping straight to pissed off even though he wasn't. She starts getting angry. My beta tendencies reared up and I tried to comfort her. I love you, which she threw back in my face. No, you don't. You don't even care that I'm crying. He's like, you cry at the drop of a hat. That pissed her off. She's like, fuck you. Always to the fuck yous. That's when you know the argument's over. So he's not trying to hurt her at this stuff. The fight ended up segueing into some weird shit where she tries to admit that I don't think she works hard enough and goes all over the map, basically throwing spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks. So anyways, her anger was waning by that point, shifting as it always does into her feeling depressed, helpless, useless, and a failure. I wish she'd never been born, or she says she wished she'd never been born. Stressed about how shitty she's going to look today after crying so much, and after an hour of this, she finally calms down enough that he reconnects with her, and they go to bed. She texts him, sorry I fucked up everything again, like always. I'm sorry that I don't work as hard as you do, and I cry all the time. I'm trying to fix it. And all this because I didn't get some stupid fucking water. It ruined both our evenings. Can I expect this kind of behavior anytime I try to show the at least smallest bit of spine? Do you think there's a different reaction? And he's like, holy shit, I've got so much anxiety today because I have not heard from her yet. I'm worrying about her mood. She hasn't sent me any texts, and I do recognize this is my codependent validation-seeking behavior, so I'm telling her those feelings, or I'm telling you those feelings and telling them to fuck off. It's still a stress that I don't need. Do you see the issue now? When you're looking, and this is my takeaways here before we get to the Jack comments, because I kind of like what he had on this one here about shitty comfort tests, but he actually feels needed. It's this weird codependent behavior. So she gets mad, and I have an article, if you ever read it on my blog, it's the 5 ways guys get manipulated, and she pulled out 2 of them right there. Well, 3 technically. The first one is anger. If you get angry at a guy and he's afraid of your feelings, he will back off and acquiesce. That's her go-to strategy. If that doesn't work, she switches to depressed or playing wounded. Again, guys have this innate need to protect and save the women in their lives. You know, she's been such a good woman to me, I gotta save her. And so they play that wounded out of things, so then they can top from the bottom, and then you want to protect her, and you start becoming coddling, simp. And then the third one is ego, where she starts apologizing, acting like, oh, you're such a great man, thank you for putting up with me. And then that's the nefarious way of manipulating guys. Tell him how awesome he is. There's a reason why if I wanted to sell guys on a masculinity course, the first thing I do is drive a Lamborghini and tell him that he's a man. Your beard is amazing, sir. Your truck nuts are amazing. Thank you, man. Here's my money. So just remember, like, there's all these little things. You kind of have to keep them in your head until you have them naturally down. In this case, the manipulation is there, the codependent life cycle, and this is how they all follow. I could talk about it at length, but it's kind of beside the point. Just realize that she knows if she tells him to do something, he will do it. And if he doesn't do it, she acts angry, then she gets depressed, then she strokes his ego, and then everything goes back to normal. It's a really weird cycle, and he has created an incentive structure which encourages this bad behavior. So I know I tell you guys all the time, reward good behavior, don't reward bad behavior. Well, in this case, this guy's rewarding bad behavior by engaging with any of this stuff. But so to the Jack part. He's like walking on eggshells here. That's the key broken mental model. You may have said the right things. If I read a transcript, if he's like, okay, he made some mistakes, but he didn't cave. But I bet you anything, if we watched a video of this, we'd collectively think, holy shit, he's terrified of her. He feels compelled to respond to her extreme emotions, which are contempt for him, self-loathing for herself, apologies, whatever. It's like he's worried she's going to immolate at any second, and every word coming out of his mouth is doing whatever he can to douse the flames. It's like, look, for this guy, and anybody else who struggles dealing with compliance tests because of boundary issues, consider this model. You're a manager, your subordinate asks for the day off. By proxy, that day off means you'd have to cover the responsibilities. And on any given day, you have a lot of stuff that you're doing on your own, so you can't grant him the day off and cover for him, and you'll tell him as much. So the subordinate sighs, sulks off. The rest of the day, he's snarky, passive-aggressive. And you're like, what the fuck, right? What the hell's wrong with this guy? Denied a single day off and he loses his shit like this? Well, depending on your management style, there's several ways you can handle this. Ignore the whining. Maybe it's just a bad day. Maybe you close your office door for the day because you don't feel like dealing with it. Maybe in response, you say, why don't you take a minute to figure out what's really bothering you, because I'm pretty sure it has nothing to do with me. It almost doesn't matter. The foundation of your frame here is, well, I reacted entirely reasonable to this entire thing. The request was made. The request could not be accommodated. So be it. Learn it so you can forget it and start enjoying it. You would almost definitely not be thinking, oh man, my employee is upset. I don't think anything wrong happened here, but I should listen to his feelings. I don't like having upset employees. My employee says he reacts poorly to managers that don't seem to care about him. Maybe he thought denying his day off means I don't value his work. I should pull him into our meeting and hash this out. It's like, would you do that? No. No. That's fucking insane to do that in the workplace. That's totally enabling unprofessional behavior, but you wouldn't respond harshly either, would you? You wouldn't run out to your subordinate's desk and say, I hate that you're sulking around, it's pissing me off and it needs to stop. I do 10 times the work for this team that you do, and you don't even care. Deny one day off and you lose your shit, it's fucking bullshit, I'm gonna fire you. That's also unprofessional, and you wouldn't do that. So despite what you may think, your wife does not like getting worked up about this and then seeing you get worked up. She's self-aware enough to realize this is shitty behavior on her part, but she sort of hates you for enabling it. Seeing this emotional exhaustion on your face fills her with shame, which she also hates. But the only way to avoid that is to quash it entirely, which she thinks is impossible, and that's why she hates you. And I hate that expressing my emotions does this to him, is what she's thinking. But apparently the only way I can stop doing this is to stop expressing my emotions. So she's trapped. This is the leadership part for you, right? So if you immediately surrender and placate the anxiety, she hates that too. Man, he doesn't even understand why I'm so upset. He just sees it and falls over himself to apologize. Doesn't even know what he's apologizing for and why he's acting this way. Does he even give a shit? Or is he just scared? Anyways, we always suggest that you play it stoic, straight, and narrow, because fuck you, bitch, you're out of line, versus, oh my god, I'm so sorry at whatever I did, I'm sorry, essentially earns you the same contempt for your wife either way. And when you're stoic in the face of a hysterical wife, there's no shame. When you tell somebody, take a minute, start over, because whatever you're trying to say, it's not working, there's no shame. You're not tolerating shitty behavior, but you're not invalidating the feelings either. It projects a strong boundary, but also an empathic mindset, and that's what the wife is looking for here, even though she doesn't know it. This is what everybody wants, to be honest. Somebody who won't judge your feelings or act terrified of them, but also won't tolerate your bullshit, even if you try to project it onto them. And this is the man that a wife would want, and can you be that guy? So if it sounds familiar, it should, because I'm describing fogging. This is a perfect example of why fogging is such a useful skill. If you guys don't know what that's about, there's 2 books I strongly suggest you read as part of my sidebar series. There's Robert Glover's No More Mr. Nice Guy and Manuel Smith's When I Say No, I Feel Guilty. Great works, and they're going to deal about assertiveness training. In this case, you're allowed to not care. That's one of your Bill of Assertive Rights. But how do you handle that? How do you do that? In this case, it's fogging. Wife's flying off the handle. You've got your same really shitty roadmap that leads to like an emotional roller coaster. Instead of getting angry or instead of placating by walking on eggshells, you just go the stoic route, go the middle route. That's not on. I get that you're feeling this way. You're gonna have to calm down. I talk with adults. We can handle this. It's a glass of water. You'll be fine. Your legs aren't broken. Almost dismissive of it, but not dismissive of the feeling, dismissive of all the other bullshit surrounding it. If you can get there, you're gonna notice you have a lot less fights. In fact, that's going to be a problem actually in your future. And this is why I talk about manufactured outrage, because you have these less fights. Now, say what you will about this, not a pleasant experience, but the opposite of love isn't hate, it's apathy. And the one thing about strong emotions is that they aren't apathetic. She has a very strong emotional thing to him, feels like a drug addiction, gets her highs, gets her lows, feel bad. Like, tell me reading that, it doesn't look like somebody who did a bunch of cocaine, got high off of cocaine, started getting angry off the cocaine and grinding her teeth, and then felt really bad about it the next day. Exactly. So what you do here, you manufacture it occasionally. Have a stupid fight like this, but not give a shit about it. And the good thing about doing this is for guys who don't know how to handle this without walking on eggshells, you actually get good at manufacturing it. And then you see it doesn't really matter. Like, all this is over a glass of water, and his anxiety is off the charts, when all he had to do was just not care because it's a glass of water and it's just feelings. Feelings are as fickle as the winds. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Take what you can from it. I will catch you on the next episode. Cheers.